Self-care is an essential part of our physical and mental well-being. It's the glue that holds us together when we're on the verge of a full-blown mental breakdown, which for me happens every Thursday at 3 p.m. But there's a part of self-care that's anything but helpful. It's making companies billions of dollars, it's driving us further apart, and it might just be turning you into a narcissist. Today, self-care is big business. Self-care related searches have quadrupled since 2014. People are looking for everything from breathing exercises to ways to calm down and asking important questions like, do coffee enemas work? For those that don't know, that's when you put coffee up your butt. And according to ASD Market Week, a massive retail marketing trade show publication, the global self-care market has grown from $10 billion in 2014 to over $450 billion in 2020. A 2018 study found that 88% of Americans reported actively practicing self-care, and 1 in 3 people had increased their self-care spending in the past year. And this trend is far from surprising. If you look around, things aren't exactly going well. Salaries are low, work weeks are pushing past 60, sometimes 80 hours a week. Student debt is at a record high. Most families are getting priced out of the housing market. Oh, and by the way, there's a pandemic. Is it any wonder that people are seeking out self-care as a way to cope with their problems? But it's become such a massive industry that just about anything counts as self-care today. And most of it is ridiculously expensive and extravagant.
3 words for you: treat yourself.
$50 jet lag face mask, treat yourself. $600 professional grade muscle massager,
Treat yourself.
want to bring a 25-pound emotional support turkey onto a plane? F it, who's gonna stop you? Some of the popular and profitable self-care trends include products like poop stools, healing crystal jewelry, or this $1,900 futuristic low-level light therapy mask that apparently gets you on the fast track to healthy, radiant skin, along with familiar favorites like bath and body scrubbers, white noise generators, and thousands of other bespoke self-care remedies. Companies have transformed terms like wellness and mindfulness into slogans to sell us billions of dollars worth of crap that we don't need. But there's something worse than reckless spending and instant gratification disguised as wellness. Some people are letting self-care practices turn into self-centered behavior, and in some cases, it's creating full-blown Karens. If you look at what makes someone a narcissist, you'll find that they have a few things in common. An inflated sense of their own importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, troubled relationships, and a lack of empathy for others. Now I want you to look at a lot of the self-care advice that you find online. You're gonna see a lot of recurring themes. You're being told to speak your truth, set boundaries, keep it real, be raw and authentic. And on its face value, this advice might be helpful to some, especially for those that are passive and often get taken advantage of. But if you take this advice blindly and out of context, it can lead to some negative consequences. Psychiatrist and author Dr. Samantha Boardman gets right to the point. She says, self-care is important, but it can also be a slippery slope to narcissism, an excuse to push away friends. Clinical psychologist and relationship expert Harriet Lerner talks about something she calls the paradox of authenticity in her book, The Dance of Connection. Speaking out and being real are not necessarily virtues. Sometimes voicing our thoughts and feelings shuts down the lines of communication, diminishes or shames another person, or makes it less likely that 2 people can hear each other or even stay in the same room. In other words, when we always speak our truth without thinking about others, we can alienate people from our lives. When we keep it real without kindness, it can unnecessarily hurt people close to us. And when we set unrealistic boundaries, it can shut ourselves off from the rest of the world. No f***s given can be an empowering mantra to believe in yourself and pursue your goals. But that doesn't mean that you can completely ignore the impact of your decision on other people's lives. Unless you live in a cave, you should at least give a few f***s. Without gratitude, empathy, and a true desire to want to improve your life as well as the lives of those around you, self-care can turn us into narcissists and self-obsessed Karens. Self-care today has been twisted into the endless pursuit of comfort and self-gratification. But even the earliest writings on self-care show that the best way to find contentment is to stop focusing on yourself and to start thinking about how you can help other people. According to Jane Hardy, the author of The Self-Care Project, the philosophical roots of self-care go all the way back to the teachings of Socrates.
Look him up. Oh, it's under Socrates. Oh, yeah.
Socrates was obsessed with self-awareness and thought that the key to living a good life was understanding yourself. Know thyself was his core message. And as far as philosophies go, it's pretty good. Socrates encouraged his followers to look inward and reflect on their thoughts, emotions, and past decisions to change their behavior and ultimately lead more meaningful, fulfilling lives. Plato even describes Socrates' care of self as centering around 3 essential aspects that defined your character: your relationships with people, behaving in a way that aligns with who you truly are, treating yourself with the attention, kindness, and respect you deserve. And while it's easy to focus on that third point, knowing thyself wasn't all about chilling in a toga and feeding yourself grapes.
What are you doing?
Oh, this? Self-care.
Is that a bed sheet?
Yeah. Get out of here. According to Socrates, the most important part of self-care, the whole reason to focus on self-improvement to begin with, wasn't just to improve your life, but the livelihood of your community. And it turns out that community engagement has always been a part of self-care. Originally a medical concept from the 1950s, the term self-care was popularized by activists during the US civil rights and women's rights movements of the 60s and 70s. And like Socrates' teachings, it had very little to do with pampering yourself. According to Aisha Harris's A History of Self-Care, self-care was rooted in the struggle for survival in many underserved communities across the US. Black communities and people of color often lacked access to basic health and social services because of systemic barriers. So to change this, activists had to literally build the systems to help care for themselves and their community. They established food banks and created health clinics to address care inequalities. Eventually, this concept of self-care evolved as a way for activists to prevent activist burnout by burning the candle at both ends in the struggle for equality. Compare this to the multi-billion-dollar self-care industry that we know today, and you might be able to spot a few differences. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be a civil rights activist to be deserving of self-care. We all deserve to be working towards our physical, emotional, and mental needs. But self-care isn't just about taking care of your needs above everybody else's. Without empathy and community engagement, even the best self-care practices will be ineffective. If you ask 10 different people how they practice self-care, you'd probably get 10 different answers. Some people take daily walks, others do restorative yoga, some meditate, paint, or journal to de-stress and recharge at the end of a long day. What works for one person might not work for another, and I'm not here to police your routines or make you feel guilty about how you care for yourself. If you enjoy expensive facials and wellness retreats, more power to you. I encourage you to keep an open mind about these things, but to practice self-care, you don't need an open wallet. Self-care can and should be an empowering act of will, not a knee-jerk reaction for self-gratification. Now, if you don't mind, I'm gonna practice some self-care by lighting this sage and wafting it around my room. Don't judge me. Over the past few years as an online content creator, I've noticed one of the biggest things that's impacted my mental health has been metrics. You can't escape them on YouTube. As a creator, they fill up your dashboard. On the platform, they accompany you on every page, and they're making creators miserable. After speaking with hundreds of creators going through the same exact thing, I decided to do something about it. And so for the past couple months, I've been working with my team at Slow Growth to build a tool to help. It's called Goodbye Metrics. It's a Chrome extension that acts as an on-off switch for all YouTube metrics, both on your dashboard and across YouTube in general. Install it in Google Chrome and turn off a few of the numbers or power everything down. I have a hunch that if you let go of the numbers, you'll feel free to take risks, free to create videos you love, and free to experiment. You can go to goodbyemetrics.com to install the free extension and to take back control of your creative process. I'm telling you, from the moment that I installed this extension on my laptop, my life got so much better. To not see the metrics, to not always feel like I'm checking and comparing myself to everybody else on the platform, really allowed me to create in a way that I hadn't since I first started making videos on YouTube. And so if you're a creator yourself, if you make videos for YouTube, go check out the free extension, download it, try it out, come back here, let me know what you think. I can't wait to hear from you.